I mastered the art of walking when I was about 1.5 years old. Girls usually master this art slightly earlier. And by usually, I mean always. I've been kind of walking and climbing and wild camping in the Lake District all my life. Almost 68 of my 72 years have been spent just strolling around the countryside. My first real taste of adventure was when I was about 4, and my dad took me up a rope to climb up Dow Crag in the Lake District, a gully climb, when I was 4, and my mum went absolutely insane. But I think this was always on the cards, this kind of thing, because my dad was Superman. And I spent my whole life doing this until quite recently. And I always went on my own. None of my friends wanted to do it. None of my friends wanted to go walking in the Lake District, especially when we were young, because it just wasn't the thing to do. But I went on my own, and it was a great worry to my family and my friends, and I never really realised this. And I only really started telling people where I was going and what time I should be back and phone numbers to call and things like that when I was actually before I actually had a heart attack and had to curtail it to some extent, when the girl I was working for said, "I'm worried every time you go up there, I want you to start leaving me notes and telling me where you are," and that. And she was, "Thank you, Emmeline, that was very nice of you." But they did, and I spent most of my life. I was once wild camping on the top of Cordale Moor, which isn't a moor, it's actually on the top of the fells in the Lake District in January, I think. I've got some photographs in feet of snow, and I went out walking and it was misty and I couldn't see very far, and then through the mist opened up and I actually saw the last golden eagle in the UK. And the last golden eagle in the UK died in 2016 and had lived its last few years on its own since its mate died in 2004, and that was a tragedy. And it was a couple of years before that that I actually saw it briefly on the top of the moors, and the mist opened up and this majestic creature was just floating there in the air. And I remember coming down and I was kind of gobsmacked. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. And I came down and I thought, was it? Or was it just something else? Was it just a buzzard that the light had made look bigger than it actually was? And then I got onto this footpath going back to the car park where I'd parked up. And there was a bloke walking towards me off another path. It was a place called Low Hartsop in Ullswater, at the side of Ullswater in the Lake District, and a bloke came from another path, and we were kind of converging at a gate, and his eyes were, and he just said, "Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it?" So I thought, I saw it, and it was one of the highlights of my life in the countryside. It was fabulous. Some years ago, I started documenting these walks in YouTube videos. There was no talk, and it was just me. It was fairly amateur. I'd filmed it in probably a bad resolution, so it was a bit fuzzy, and I'd uploaded it, and I'd only uploaded a few videos, and I'd only got a couple of hundred subscribers, so YouTube kind of doesn't treat your videos very well and puts them up at crap resolutions, so they're all a bit fuzzy. But I put them up there, and it's great to look back at them. Walks up Dow Crag from the Duddon Valley, and the Duddon Valley is a valley at the other side of the Lake District. Usually people, when they go up Dow Crag and Coniston Old Man, go up from Coniston Water, but the Duddon Valley is at the other side, and you get up it by walking up this long cart track called Walnascar Road that was used hundreds of years ago by people taking goods from one side of the fells to the other. And I walked up there and walked up Dow Crag where I'd first gone when I was 4 years old. And I documented that. And I documented the best walk of my life, which was going up Dove Crag from Dovedale, again at Ullswater, from Cowbridge car park. And that was a wonderful day. That was a fantastic day, and that will live with me for as long as I live. I've been very, very, very lucky to have got the walking bug at a very young age, because it's free and it's you, just you, nothing else. There's nothing out there saying, there's no signs saying go this way to enjoy yourself, pay this money to enjoy yourself, do this to enjoy yourself. You sit back and don't have any input, and we will do things that we think you will enjoy. There's none of that. It's all up to you. You get out there, you get out of the car, you get off the bus, you've walked up there, and it's down to you. There's no other input, and that is the purest kind of enjoyment, when there's no input off somebody else. Because when there's input off somebody else, all they're doing is constructing their idea of what they think you will enjoy and then dumping it on you. Now that's hit and miss. You may enjoy it 100%. I doubt you will, because it's somebody else's idea. But there is nothing as pure as having 100% input. And that's what walking does. Walking in the countryside. Walking in a town. There's so much enjoyment in walking in a town. It doesn't have to be in the countryside, because I know that a lot of people don't have access to the countryside. But when you walk in a town and walk in a city, the landscape is the buildings are the trees, the buildings are the forests, the lights are the sensations, the shop windows are the scenic views. You can enjoy it just as much. It's just walking. It's just this, the very act of walking, the very act of putting one foot in front of the other with no other, just you deciding where you go when you put that one foot in front of the other. And then everything around you is just something to enjoy, because it's inputting through your eyes and your ears and your nose and your fingertips, and then you interpret it exactly as you want to interpret it. There's no other influences. It's pure. Even walking in a town or a city, all the sounds and the sights and the smells and the tall buildings and the old buildings and the newer buildings all intermingling. It is just like any landscape you come across. It's just like the landscape I'm in now, with old paths, newer paths, and very old trees and new shrubs. And I interpret that exactly as I want to interpret that, and you will interpret it differently. You will get a different sensation. You will get different satisfaction. But at the end of the day, we can probably all meet up and say, wasn't that great? I've had a great day just walking in the countryside. I've had a great day walking in the town. I've had a great day walking in the city. I've had a great day walking on the beach. It doesn't matter, because we're all interpreting it differently, but we're all getting the same sensation at the end of the day. So it isn't where you are, is it? It's not where you are, it's the very act of walking. It's the very act of walking within an environment that lets you experience it, lets you emotionally experience it exactly as you want to. Somebody in water I'm walking down an alley of trees now. Somebody might find this quite claustrophobic and quite threatening. I find it quite romantic. It's almost like some kind of Tolkien life landscape. We all interpret things totally differently, but at the end of the day, it's an individual. Nobody interprets it exactly the same. But at the end of the day, we can all have the same kind of outcome, of conclusion to what the day meant to us. We're all individuals. We all see it differently. So it's not about where you are, is it? It's about the very act of walking. Walking quickly, walking slowly, whatever does it for you, but the very act of just walking. I know there are places, a lot of places say it in the States, because we hear about it all the time on YouTube, about the wish they had walkable cities, and that's just the design. We have walkable cities and walkable towns over here just because of history, just because that's how it was, because people had to have the ability to walk round places because that's the only mode of transport they had. Horses, small carts, and that was about it. So because we haven't changed, because we've maintained the infrastructure of many, in fact by many I mean most of our older towns, this is how it is. You walk round them because the footpaths are there, and those footpaths have been there sometimes for thousands of years. Makes them walkable. And I understand that places somewhere in the States are designed quite recently and designed after the car came and are designed to be car friendly. So that's what they are. So it's very difficult. And I know that distances are vaster, so to get out into the countryside is more difficult because you have to go farther. I understand all that. And it's a shame, but there must be a way just to get out and get those sensations. And people who live in the beautiful parts of the States, what a sensation you guys have got. I mean, that must be like sensory overload. And I am very jealous because I will never get there now. My travelling days are over. I'm lucky. I live in a small town right on the edge of a huge area of countryside, many square miles of countryside, and it's a lovely little town, and it's very old town, so it is a walkable town, and there's lots of artisan shops within a minute's walk of where I live. There's a supermarket within 3 minutes of walk of where I live, Aldi. There's a good bus service. We've got a train station that is inconveniently a 5 minutes drive away. And from there, I can get on and I can go all the way up to Kendal in the Lake District. Come back later in the day. Get an Uber back home. Or walk if I feel energetic. And I can do all that without a car. I can do all that just by walking. And I take it for granted because it's worked. I've done, it's what I've done, it's where I've lived all my life around this area. Where I walk now, it is 2 minutes walk from where I live. Where I grew up is 20 minutes bike ride on your push bike from where I live, because we used to come up when I was kids. So I've always lived in this environment. I've never lived in a city. And the cities I've gone to are all not massive. They don't feel it. Manchester, Birmingham. Been to London a couple of times, but not very often. But I just like it here. These trees are my buildings. This is my shop window. And the people we meet are infrequent. Not like the towns and the cities where you're avoiding people and zigzagging out of the way of people as they approach you with their head down into the mobile phone. Here you see people coming hundreds of yards away, and then you have the decision, you have the choice whether to walk towards them, meet them and pass the time of day, or scoot off down a side track and avoid people. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. We are quite lucky in the UK in that we have thousands and thousands of miles of footpaths, of open access land, of right to roam, which means that landowners have to leave open and even maintain old footpaths that have been going across there for perhaps thousands of years. They have to allow the public the right of way to walk across that land. Landowners grumble about it, but landowners can grumble about it all they want. The right to roam and open access and the rights of way have been with us for many, many years. I've actually done a video, I think it's still up, about the mass trespass in the 50s, which really did open up the right to roam and the open access land. We've got open access land around here that you can just go and walk on anywhere you want. Scotland has even more access. Up there you can camp, you can wild camp wherever you want. The restrictions have got tighter since idiots a few years ago started destroying the area and littering the area around Loch Lomond, but you get idiots everywhere you go. We also have coffin paths, and these are actually a thing, and I've walked over many of them, and what they are is a path that goes from a remote rural area, a remote hamlet or a town, to the nearest churchyard and graveyard, which may be miles and miles away. So they had these paths, coffin paths, where pallbearers would walk. There would be a procession walking across the countryside with the coffin, and at the side of the path, every so often, there are raised slabs of rock just at about waist height so that you can put the coffin down and rest for a while. And I've sat on many of these to rest on my walks and have a minute and have a cup of coffee and think about all those years ago when people used to carry the coffins of the loved ones through the countryside, through the beautiful countryside on their last journey to some tiny hamlet where just happened to have a church and a graveyard. I love my country because it's got things like this. It's got this mad history. I mean, the people here who live here all their life and never know about coffin paths or coffin tracks. Nobody know about them. And you've lived in this country all your life. And there's so much that you don't know. There's so much that I will never know about this country. And I try to soak as much up as absolutely possible. Another benefit of walking, especially through a town, is that you see a lot more when you walk. Have you ever done that? Just try. You drive through a town, drive through the outskirts of a town where there are houses and gardens and walls at the side of the road, and you drive through and it takes you a few seconds to pass a street of houses. And you think, those are nice houses, those are nice stone houses, those look very nice, I wouldn't mind living in one of those. And then walk past, and when you walk past, you see so much more. You see the walls, you see the garden gates, you see the front gardens planted up with beautiful flowers. You see the colour and the texture of the brickwork. You see the doors painted nice, complementing the brickwork, complementing the area, complementing the countryside appeal. And you walk and you stop, because you can stop. You see so little when you're in the car. Even as a passenger, you see so little because everything goes by so quickly. When you're in a car, it's other things that are there to catch your eye. It's big advertisements that are put there specifically to catch the eye of a driver or a passenger. The houses and the stone walls and the front gardens, the footpaths, and the "please keep your dog on a lead" sign aren't there. They're there for the pedestrian. And it's much better being a pedestrian when you can take your time and take it all in and soak it all up. Can you imagine anyone who's been to places like the Lake District or the Cotswolds or places like that where people go to walk round? Can you imagine just driving through there? You wouldn't see a tenth of what there is to see, a tenth of the beauty of the honey-coloured stone and the woodlands and the old roads, hundreds and thousands of years old, the old churches, the shops that have been shops since the 1600s, and blacksmiths and little bridges over cute little streams, and smell the flowers and smell the air, and walk past the artisan coffee shop and bakeries that are put there for the tourists and get that smell and the smell of the leaves and the trees and the water and the sound of other humans talking in conversation, the chatter, the background chatter that can sometimes be an irritation, can sometimes be comforting. I noticed this. I don't know when I first noticed it. It's not that long ago, many years, but not like when I was very young. But I did, and I remember driving, and I think it was through Horwich here where I live. And then I drove through, and then for some reason I was walking through, and there's a line of about 4 or 5 beautiful little stone cottages set back. I always wanted them. They've got long front gardens. And I walked past and I looked, and I just thought, and this never registered, and they were absolutely beautiful. And it never registered. And it did, because I was walking. And I could take it all in. And if I wanted to pause, I could do. So if you've nothing better to do and you can walk, then walk. Walk and walk and walk. It's a great way to pass the time. And I'll tell you what, your body will thank you for it. We're going to sit here for a moment now. This is our little bench. I've shown you with this little bench before, where we can gaze out over this huge field. There's usually deer knocking about. You can see the odd dog walking in the distance. There's a grey sky, but it's a beautiful day. And we can sit here and just take it all in. And then when we've taken it all in and we've been sated, when we've sated of the view, no matter how long that takes, we can get on and carry on our walk. So take time to walk if you can walk. If you're in somewhere where it's difficult to walk, where wherever you go you have to get in a car, I'm sure there must be some park or some recreation area close by where you can just spend half an hour or an hour just getting everything out of your head, taking in the sounds and the sights and the smells. And if you have to travel, if you live in a big country like the US, not a small country where we would fit into one of your states, then there must be workarounds, because there are thousands of videos on YouTube of people walking in the States in the beautiful, beautiful countryside. Like I say, something I will never see, something I always wanted to see. But I've seen plenty, so I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. But get out there and just walk. We spend so many hours a day just walking. And I'm at peace and I'm happy, and I think I've lived longer than I would have done if I hadn't got the exercise, the gentle exercise of walking that I have. I've never led a sedentary life. I've always had very, very physical jobs. So I think if I'd stopped work and sat down, I would have been like that man in Manchester that I've told everyone about, who I used to work for, who finished work, sat down and died. Don't be that person. Get out. Get out in the countryside, walk. Make sure all your senses are switched on. Flip the switch on all your senses. Press record so that you remember it. And you can go back to it and imagine it and remember it in days when you can't get out there. You can remember that beautiful view, the sound of those birds, the smell of those fresh baked goods and coffee. It's fantastic. Get out and do it. And in the meantime, we shall see you on the flip. Peace and love.